Hello! Woohoo! Hello, everybody. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're having a wonderful week. Hope you're feeling fantastic. Hope life is feeling good and positive, and you've got lots of wonderful things to look forward to. And even if those don't feel like big things, they don't need to be big things. Just waking up every day and breathing. And if you're lucky enough to be in a bed, in a comfy bed, and if you're lucky enough to place your feet on a floor that is safe, and if you're lucky enough to have a shower to clean yourself, if you're lucky enough to have fresh water to drink and food to break your fast first thing in the morning, then you're in a really, really good place that we should all feel really grateful for. Okay, so over the last few episodes, I've outlined the fact that the universe gradually over time was overtaken by a group of marauding reptilian energies or beings that switched polarity or chose the polarity of service to self. And they decided they didn't want to be a part of the universe. They didn't want to be connected to source. They were going to align themselves with this AI instead, which was kind of like a new god, a new source. And they were going to systematically move their way around the galaxy and take whatever they wanted from wherever they wanted, kill whoever they wanted. They started to build their technology. It got bigger, it got stronger, it got greater. And we had to rally troops from all over, not just our galaxy, from other galaxies to come together. A massive battle occurred. Many battles occurred before that, where the reptilians took ground and obviously destroyed planets and places. Many of those battles live in our souls and are very, very traumatic for many of us. But at a certain point, the light all rallied, all came together. There was a huge battle, and the reptilians' forces and fleets were massively depleted. They took a huge hit and they fled. And at a certain point, we found out that they fled to Earth. And so we're going to put a pin in that because that's where we're going to hold that story for now. We're going to pick that story back up in a bit because that story is going to become important in a bit because that story hasn't ended. You're in that story right now. This is what it's important to note. The story that I've outlined about these reptilian beings and everything that happened and everything that they've done, that story is ongoing. And you are a part of it because the stronghold that they fled to, where they identified that there was a species there that could help them to get strong again, that they could control, that they could manipulate, and they could begin to grow strong and move around the universe again. That planet that they chose was Earth. So you're in the middle of that story right now. So just take a moment to let that sink in because you are going to have an effect, a bearing upon where this story goes next. And all of the beings of light who chose to incarnate on this planet at this time, we did so we could affect and change what is about to occur next. That's where this piece of the puzzle is very important. Because when I talk about entity release, and when I talk about what it is that I do, removing energies from humans, yes, these can be thought form entities created by the client themselves. These can be low-level demonics. These can be energetic parasites, worms, spiders, snakes. These can be mid-level demonics that are very mischievous and that involve us in sex and domination and control and fear. These can be high-level demonics. Many of these high-level demonics are created by the mass consciousness of man. An example of that would be religion. There is a demonic that feeds off of all of the practices that occur around religion. But moving up the food chain towards the top of that negatively polarized dimension, which is on Earth, are the reptilians, the Draco, and above the Draco is the AI. So the AI is currently at the top of the food chain, if you like, on the planet. That's important, something important to think about right now in terms of where you are. Because if you are interacting with AI and you are using it for your business and you are too lazy to find information through traditional routes, and so you just ask AI everything, remember that AI is sending that information right up to the top of the tree to the AI overlord, which is attempting to snare you like a fly in its web. And the World Wide Web is not called the World Wide Web for no reason. But we'll come to that in a later video. So we're going to put a pin in the AI and a pin in reptilians, and we will pick that up in a later episode. In order for you to understand where we are on Earth right now, you have to understand where we have been historically. So the first part of What on Earth has been discussing really more galactic information. So what's been going on galactically? What's been happening with the tone of the universe? What's been happening between good and evil, light and dark, service to self, service to others? What's been going on there? Now, in order to understand where we are on Earth right now, we need to understand more about the history of Earth. Now, there's much that I cannot possibly cover here, because if I covered all of it, this video series would never end. That's the truth. Earth has been around for a very, very, very long time, much longer than we have been told. Humans have been around on Earth for a very, very, very long time, much longer than we have been told. Civilizations have been raised and fallen multiple times on this planet. But one thing that you will see borne out through many, many quantum sessions, one thing that you'll see borne out through many, many ancient paintings, one thing that you will see borne out throughout relics from ancient Egypt and the times of the Mayans and many different ancient civilizations. One thing that you'll see borne out in the oldest tablets that we have access to in terms of information on the planet. And no doubt there are many, many more sources of ancient information on the planet that documents this that we don't have access to because they are hidden away from us in the Vatican archives. That's something else we can put a pin in, and we'll do a whole episode on the Vatican archives as well. But what all of those different areas show is a correlation of different witness accounts, reporting knowledge, reporting what happened, reporting sightings. And since as far back as records go, it has been reported that cyclically, every so often, I can't remember the exact amount of years. I did used to know this figure, but my head is full of so much information from people that I've met. It's around 3,600 years. That's not accurate though. It might be 2000 and something, but around that figure. Every so often, there is a celestial event that occurs within our solar system. Now, something that we haven't been told, we have not been told this, is that there are two suns in our solar system. And it's funny because science has actually discussed this at great length in other solar systems, in other places. They've proven that having one sun is an anomaly, that in any other star system that they've studied, there appears to be two. And the two suns start together, they move apart, and then they come back together. And this cycle, just like all of the beautiful patterns that we see in sacred geometry, the flow, the spiraling, the twisting of energy, the planets that this sun has around it, and the planets that this sun has around it. When these two suns come back together, the planets dance around each other. And the planets will move very, very closely between each other. And when these planets move very, very closely between each other, it can cause massive changes in the landscape of a planet. It can cause the poles to flip. So the north becomes the south becomes the north. Bear with me whilst I. Many apologies. My throat is still so tired. It's going to take a while. Still wearing blue with flashes of orange and red for root energy. Orange is for sacral. But my poor little throat is struggling big time. So the suns come together. The planets that orbit the suns dance around each other. And as they do this dance, sometimes a bigger planet will come up against a smaller planet. And when that bigger planet comes up against a smaller planet, the poles of the smaller planet will be dragged by the stronger poles of the bigger planet as it moves past, and a pole shift occurs. That is what we see happening throughout the ebb and flow of the universe, and where they have studied suns, twin suns, binary system. When the suns come back together, this is what occurs. So, the secret information that we haven't been told is that our solar system is also a binary solar system. You're not going to get taught this in school. None of the teachers know. It's not wide knowledge, but all the ancient texts talk about it. The ancient tablets even have names for the planets and for the star. The failed sun, as it is referred to, because it's dark. In our binary system, our sun's twin has fallen to the dark side. That's going to be key because that has a massive bearing upon the information that I'm about to talk to you about next. So, conditions change in the universe. Energy ebbs and flows. Things are cyclical. And a long, long, long time ago, in the solar system of our twin. So not talking about our sun, Sol, and our solar system, but we're talking about in the solar system of our twin sun, who is often referred to as Nemesis. In the solar system of our twin, there are many, many planets that will cycle around it. Now, because the sun itself has gone dark, it is not emitting the same level of energy that it did at the time when it was connected to the light. So when it comes back to our sun, it's a bit like a soul sucker. You know, those people that you meet and they just suck your soul out because they suck all of your energy away. When the twin sun comes back to our sun, it draws energy from our sun, and our sun dims for a while as there is an energy exchange. That energy that this failed brown dwarf once was a star, the energy that this brown dwarf steals from our sun is enough energy to keep it going for another cycle round. And so this sun here has become a parasite, essentially, on our sun, Sol. When the two suns come back and the planets dance around each other, there is a planet that orbits the failed sun. We'll call it the parasitical sun. There's a planet that orbits the parasitical sun that has been referred to as many names over the years. Nibiru is probably the most common name that you've heard it referred to. Nibiru, the fiery red dragon, Herboculus, wormwood. These are all names that have been used in reference to this particular planet. But a long, long time ago, the beings that lived on Nibiru were starting to feel the effects of their sun losing its light. They started to notice holes in their ozone layer. And they worked out that if you took the metal gold and you broke it down and you pumped it into the atmosphere in the skies, that doing that would repair the hole that was there in their ozone layer, and it would help their planet to survive a little longer. It created almost like a shield, if you like, a shield to stop dangerous energy getting into their planet. And so life carried on Nibiru, and the beings on Nibiru, which has a very, very different gravitational structure to our planet, because Nibiru is a bigger planet. It's very, very big. The beings on Nibiru are therefore bigger in relation to their planet. So these beings are much, much bigger than us as humans as we are now. Their race is a very volatile race. They believed very heavily in bloodlines and royalty and leaders. And the original leadership was won by fighting. So the men would fight, and whoever won the fight, that was going to be the leader of the people. And this particular group of beings, they would marry their half sisters, they would keep the whole lineage interbred. There was lots and lots and lots of interbreeding. And as a result of this interbreeding, to keep the genetic lineage pure, they became a very angry and very volatile race. Now, legend reports it that there was an argument that occurred on Nibiru, and one of the male lineage who was related to the ruler was cast out, was sent out. And so he took technology, and at the time when the two sons were coming back together, he decided to go exploring. He decided to leave his planet, his home planet of Nibiru, and go exploring. And his explorations took him to Mars, where he explored Mars, and then eventually he ended up on Earth. And when he arrived on Earth and he surveyed the landscape of the planet, he saw that there was a kind of bipedal Neanderthal hominoid type man, but that life had not developed to the point where there was an intelligent bipedal human animal. The human was developing, but it was developing very slowly and in the earlier stages of Homo sapien. He used his technology to scan the Earth, and he found that there was lots and lots of gold inside of the planet, or in the lands inside of the Earth. And as we know, the Anunnaki need gold for the longevity of their planet, for the longevity of their species, because the ozone layer of their planet is breaking down. And so this particular being thought to themselves, if I go back to Nibiru and inform them that I've found a new, hugely rich source of gold, then they might let me come back. I might be welcomed back. And so this information was conveyed to the king of Nibiru, who's called Anu, A-N-U, and it was decreed that the Anunnaki being that found Earth and found the gold would bring a team of Anunnaki to the Earth, and they would mine that gold, and they would bring it back to Nibiru, and it would be used to save their planet. Well, when the Anunnaki came down to Earth, and Anunnaki means from those who from heaven to earth came. So no doubt their actual species name is not the Anunnaki. That's what we refer to them as on Earth. When the Anunnaki came down to Earth and they began to mine and they began to deal with the conditions of Earth, which was very different to their planet. Don't forget, Earth is very close to our sun, and our sun emits a lot of light. And these guys were not used to being in that environment. They didn't fare very well at all. And they started to bicker, they started to fight amongst each other. And at a certain point, it was suggested, why don't we use some of these early Homo sapien, Homo erectus beings that's on this planet? Why don't we tinker with them a little bit, make them quite intelligent, but not as intelligent as us, but just intelligent enough that they can accept basic instruction, and then they can work as slaves on the planet, and they can harvest the gold. They can get the gold out of the ground for us, and we don't have to do it. We can just sit here and enjoy our time in this place because this is a pretty cool planet to be on. And so it was decreed that that is what would occur. Now it is said that they had many attempts to create what we now know as modern man. And bear in mind, whilst all this is going on, there are other star racers from other places also coming to Earth and mating with the early Neanderthal man. So not only were the Anunnaki mating or creating a new human, if you like, but over here, different star racers, from the Pleiades, from Andromeda, from Arcturus, from Sirius, from all of the different places, different star racers were also mating with early Homo sapien in order to create different races, different root races, which now are on the planet. So going back to the Anunnaki, they tinkered and tinkered and tinkered, and they couldn't get it right. And eventually, they decided to see if they placed the egg that contained the information from the Anunnaki and from this Neanderthal man, if they placed that egg inside of an Anunnaki woman, would that make a difference? And so when they did that, they found that it did, and that the beings that were born from the Anunnaki women, they had all of the qualities that they needed. And at that point, they created a pool, a group of men that they used to work in these mines. And so human, started to mine the gold for the Anunnaki. And then it was postulated that these slaves, these human slaves, would work better if they were given a woman, if they were given something to look forward to at the end of the day. It's like having that carrot that you dangle in front of somebody. Well, you work 8 hours working your guts out in these hot underground caverns, mining gold for us, and we'll give you a woman. So at the end of the day, you've got something to look forward to. Because just as the Anunnaki themselves had started to get fed up and fight, the humans also started to get fed up and fight because it was just toil day in and day out. So they began to create women because they have access to all of the technology. They can do all of the artificial insemination, all of the gene therapy that we are just starting to understand now. They've had access to that a long time ago before us. And so they created some women for these human men. And that is what you will find in the Bible in regards to Adam and Eve. That's the story of Adam and Eve. That's where it comes from. That's why Adam was born first, because Adam was born to work in the mines. That's why Eve was born next, because she was born to keep Adam doing what he should have been doing. Now, basically, what happened is over time, the Anunnaki men started to lust after the human women. This is where it all got really messy, because there are two lineages on the planet. There's a lineage that comes from one of the Anunnaki called Enki. There's a lineage that comes from the Anunnaki called Enlil. Those were the two original brothers that spent a lot of time on Earth at the beginning. And at a certain point, one of the Anunnaki lay down with a human woman and created a breed of human, if you like, that was more Anunnaki than the other humans had been. The other humans were a combination of Anunnaki and Neanderthal man. But this new breed of human that was created due to the Anunnaki god laying with a human woman, this created a being that was even more hybrid, even more Anunnaki. And that's something that's important to note because all of these bloodline families that are ruling the planet right now, they all can track their lineage back to that time. They all know which side they came from. They all know whether they came from the hybrids that were more Anunnaki. They all understand their roots. So put a pin in that and remember that because what we're learning here about the Anunnaki is going to help you to understand what's going on planet Earth right now in terms of the people who are in positions of power. So the Anunnaki created man to work in the mine, then they created woman to satisfy the man so that they wouldn't revolt, so that they would keep working in the mines. Then eventually they had, for the time period that Nibiru is close to Earth, when the two suns have come back together, for the time period that Nibiru was close to Earth, they felt they'd harvested enough gold. They felt that they'd had enough. The conditions on Earth, they weren't great for them because they're so tall. The gravitational pull on Earth is different. The beings are smaller. They were starting to get ill because they didn't have access to the things that they were used to from their own planet of Nibiru. And so the main Anunnaki, the last time that Nibiru came around, then left in their ships and went back to Nibiru. And just around that, there was also the deluge, the flood around that time that is referred to in the Bible as Noah's flood, Noah's Ark. What that was Enlil, one of the Anunnaki gods, who was more volatile, got very angry that his kind, his species, had been fornicating with the humans, creating hybrids, creating giants. Because obviously, a human and an Anunnaki actually laying down with each other created these really big beings. And so he felt that that was an abomination to his species. He didn't want any hybrids. He didn't want stronger beings either that could potentially threaten his status. And so he knew that when Nibiru moved away and the electromagnetic lock between Nibiru and our planet was released, he knew that the poles would shift. He knew that the planet would flood in order to cleanse itself and start again. And that if beings could not get to high ground or in a place where they would be safe when this occurred, that all life would be lost and the earth could start again. However, his brother Enki decided to come down to earth and inform all of his seed, or the key people from his seed, the ones that were actually true hybrids, more Anunnaki. He went down to Earth and he informed those people that a flood was coming. He told Noah to make an ark, a vessel that would be able to float in the water. And Noah did exactly what his father had told him to do. And when the poles shifted and the planet flooded, Noah and his lineage, Enki's seed, survived. The Enlil was absolutely furious to find out that not all of the humans and the hybrids had been killed. And this was something that further fueled the animosity between these two brothers. Then essentially, what was decreed is that the lineage, the Anunnaki lineage that was left on the planet, the ones that knew they were born of the Anunnaki, the ones that were more Anunnaki than the rest, because they knew that one of the Anunnaki gods had laid down with a human woman in order to create them. Those hybrid beings that were taller than the rest of normal humans because of their genetics being different, those taller hybrids were left in charge with keeping the humans in control on the planet. And if you look back to ancient Egyptian times, you will see that the original pharaohs were very, very, very tall. As time continued and interbreeding occurred, where breeding couldn't happen in the pure family line, then gradually over time, those beings started to become smaller and started to look more like normal humans. But the rulers that were left in place were more Anunnaki than us. They were hybrids. They weren't pure Anunnaki, but they were more Anunnaki than us because of how they were created. And it is those very same people, their lineage, that still rules over the planet now, the royal families. And you will be able to see, if you study these original families, that all of them do look like they have slightly larger skulls. They're quite tall. There are certain things that you can notice within their genetic makeup, and that is because they have interbred with each other for many, many years. Now, don't forget, there are different families of these original hybrids because the Anunnaki gods slept with a fair few human ladies. But all of these families that are now at the top of the tree on the planet are there because they can track their lineage back to these Anunnaki families. And they have been left in charge of keeping the humans occupied and harvesting gold until Nibiru comes back round again. Because when Nibiru comes back round again, and that electromagnetic lock occurs between Nibiru and our planet, the guys from Nibiru will come back to our planet again, and they will come back to pick up the gold. And there are miles and miles of tunnels under the Vatican that are full of gold. And many people would say, why would somebody, a God-fearing organization or person, why would they squirrel away gold instead of using that gold to eradicate all of the starving on the planet, all of the hungry? If religion was aligned to heart-centered service to others activity and energy, why would they squirrel away all of the gold when people on the planet are starving? Why would they sit on golden thrones when there are children literally dying of dehydration? And your answer lies in what I have just discussed. It lies in the fact that they are hoarding this wealth for the return of their masters, because they know that the masters will return. Now, for those of you that have not come across teachings on Nibiru before, and I know I have spoken about Nibiru extensively in previous videos, so you can look back through previous videos of mine if you wish. But for those of you that haven't come across Nibiru before, the second sun is with our sun now. We are in the period of time right now on planet Earth right now, where the two suns come back together, the planets that rotate around the suns rotate around each other. At a certain point, Nibiru will pass between Earth and our moon. And you can imagine how close that will be. It will not hit us because this is a celestial dance. This is beauty. This is energy in motion. This is something so significant that we can't possibly comprehend it with the human mind. This is cyclical. It brings about a clearing of the energy on the planet. But at the same time that Nibiru passes between Earth and our moon, there is an electromagnetic exchange of information between our sun, between Nibiru, between the Earth. And what happens is there is the potentiality there for beings that have vibrated higher to quantum leap into a higher dimension. Now, I'm going to discuss dimensions and what they are, and densities and what they are in a later video, so that you understand what a dimension or a density is, so that you begin to understand that we are in a dimension on our planet. We are not all that there is on this planet. There are different dimensions, which are frequencies and wavelengths of existence that you can dial into in a given place. So when Nibiru passes between Earth and our moon, we will see it in the sky as a huge, bright, red planet. And we will see massive blue. And I know that because I've seen it. I've had a dream of the moment when Nibiru passes, and it locks onto our planet, and there are huge lightning bolts of energy that are exchanged between Nibiru and Earth. They kind of lock together in a frequency, and eventually Nibiru starts to move out and away, and the lock dissipates, and as it does, the poles will shift, everything on the planet will move, and it will be almost like a reset. Now, the Dark Ones on the planet know that this is coming. That's why they've built all of their underground bases. That's why if you are rich on this planet, you have an underground base. The super rich do. Only the super rich. The ancient families, they will all have underground bases that they will flee to when activity on the surface becomes too difficult. That's why you've seen many CEOs and royals and significant people retire or die or disappear, or they start to look different. It's because the actual ones have moved down into their underground base because they know what it is that's about to occur. For those of us that are light workers, that are raising our frequency, raising our energy, raising our vibration, have absolutely nothing to fear. because when all of this celestially occurs, we will jump with the earth into that higher dimension. In my opinion, and this is all I can say at this point, from what I feel, from what I've seen, from what I've heard from other people, Nibiru is used as a cleanser for this planet. It's used almost as an energetic cleanser for the earth. When it comes around, it's like an etch-a-sketch. It wipes clean all the low frequency energies and all the high frequency energies, because of the electromagnetic exchange, they quantum jump into a higher frequency. So if you're on the path of the light as a light worker, you've healed your trauma, you've got clean and clear energy centers that are connected into the true energy of the planet and up to source. You've got a beautiful auric toroidal field around you. Your heart chakra is open. When the sun releases this final, very large pulse of energy, due to what's happening celestially with the return of its dark twin, when that release occurs, the light is accepted into us and we quantum leap into higher dimension at the same time as the organic low frequency energy is cleansed from the planet. However, the humans that are plugged into the AI timeline, those humans may well have the potential to survive, because the AI will survive. The AI will make sure that it survives somehow. And the humans that are the battery for that AI, they're going to be feeding it. So I think the solar flash that will occur when Nibiru returns, it will split the energy threefold. The ones that are clear conduits of light and that have done their work will quantum leap into the fifth dimension on Earth. The ones whose organic vehicle, they've not done any work on healing their trauma, their chakras are parasited upon by the negatively polarized upper fourth density. And I'll do a video on that moving forward so you understand what that is. That's all to do with entity release. Those people are not clear conduits of energy. And so when the pulse of light comes in from the sun, it will not be able to travel up throughout their body and being as a clear electrical circuit to lift their energy to the next dimension. And so I believe those people, their circuitry will be blown, which means that they will die. And the other group of people that have taken a lot of AI into their body, they will probably survive, because when the light comes in, it'll fry what was left of them that was organic, but it will kick in the AI's ability to plug that person into the hive mind. And I think they will essentially just become cyborgs. So this is the reason why I'm sharing all of this information. So all of you can start to understand that now is the time to start healing your trauma. Don't turn a blind eye to it. Don't think, I don't want to look at it because it's too painful, it's too sad. Don't brush it under the rug, brush it under the carpet, because that's not going to help you. Face your trauma. Face your family's ancestral trauma. Remove entities from your energetic body. Clean and clear your chakras. Keep your chakras clean and clear so that your energy vibrates higher, so that you are a clean and clear conduit of light and electricity on this planet. So when the surge of light comes from our sun in its celestial dance with its dark twin and all of their planets, when that surge of light comes, your energetic body is able to take that information, upgrade your system and DNA and consciousness and launch you in a quantum leap into the positively polarized fifth density. Now, I'm going to end this video today here because my throat's very tired today and I have to keep coughing and clearing my throat. But on the next What on Earth video, we're going to cover off more about the Anunnaki because it's really, really important that you understand what they are and how our present day leads back to that. Because in future videos, we're going to rediscuss this so we can understand why our societies and social structures and religions are set up in the way that they are. They're set up to keep us divided, to keep us at war with each other, to keep us fighting, to keep us always focused on our differences instead of our similarities. Because it's just like that film, A Bug's Life. The moment these ants realize that they are so strong together and they all stand together, all colours, all creeds, all social statuses, all sexes, no matter what geographical location you are based in, no matter what religion you have followed, no matter what your politics are. The minute we stop focusing on that, which keeps us divided, and we start focusing on that, which is our common goal that brings us together, that is for us to be free. Once we are free, all of us can support and lift each other up because we will be able to fully see that we're all one being. We are all one. So if you can get anything out of this video today, I would encourage you to just take a look at your life and see whereabouts it is at this present time where you are being an Anunnaki slave, where you are buying into all of the division and the hate, where you are judging people because of what they look like or where they're from or their social status or their religion or their political stance. And I would encourage all of us to start realizing that we need to forget that. These beings have kept us divided and fighting each other for too long. Too long. They know us inside and out. They know how volatile we are, how reactionary, how angry, how egocentric, how butthurt we can get, how sad we can get, how we're obsessed with sex. And they use our weaknesses to further divide us and take us over even more. And it's at this now time, this now moment, that we must understand that. We must understand it at its most fundamental level. And if you want to ascend, but you're still having arguments with people that are the different political persuasion to you, then you really don't get it. That's the truth. And I'm sorry if that hurts. I know there's going to be lots of people that are watching this that probably don't like that, but that is the truth. If you get annoyed by people that are a different political persuasion to you, or a different religion to you, or they've got a different color skin to you, or they're a different sexuality to you, then you don't get it. You need more time in the third dimension to understand that all of that, none of it matters. We have to come together as a species in love, no matter what we look like, no matter where we are, no matter what our beliefs are. And at this now moment, we have to set all of that to the side. We have to connect from our hearts We have to put ourselves back together, heal all of our traumas, clean our energy, and get ready for this wave of light that's going to come in, because that's your exit out of this crazy third dimensional world. And I don't know about you, but I don't actually fancy staying here. My time on Earth has been lengthy, and God knows I love her, and I will absolutely stay as a guardian on the surface of New Earth to help establish a new way of being for the human, to help bring about oneness and to really anchor heart energy on the planet of the New Earth. I will absolutely do that. But my desire to stay in the third dimensional Earth of space is over. I've come here at this time in this incarnation to share light, to share knowledge, to share truth, and to hope that something of what I say resonates and it plants a little seed within you that starts to grow. So before I sign off today, I'll say one last thing. Try and find something every day that you can do as a human being for someone else that is giving from your heart, that is going to make that person's day better. That's how we start this new movement. The new earth is heart energy. It's not solar plexus energy. It's not divide and conquer. It's not dominate, control, subservience, master and slave. That's not the new earth. The new earth is heart energy, green ray, love. So if you want to access the new earth, you have to be the new earth. You have to embody heart energy, green ray energy. And that starts with loving your fellow humans, no matter what politicians they follow or what country they live in. We've got to get past that, because this is the point. If you can't come together as a species with all of the different types of beings that we have on this planet, how can you possibly be expected to cope in the new earth, in the higher dimension, when we are going to be able to meet all of our star families? And they all look very different. They don't all look like humans. There are many humans, but even those humans, each and every one of them have a different variation. They all look different. So if you're going to be mean about certain members of your own species because they don't look a certain way, or they don't think the same way you think, how on earth are you going to cope being connected to the plethora of different species that make up our universe? And you better believe there are many different beliefs that abound in the wider universe. You can't access that wider universe. You can't access New Earth until you access your heart on Earth. The key to New Earth is your heart energy in this space at this time. So be kind. Don't be one of those virtue signaling spiritual people that talks about how spiritual they are and how amazing they are and how they can do this and how they can do that, but in the next breath is attacking people, being nasty to people, talking about people behind their backs, causing dissent and unrest. The light doesn't do that. The light connects, includes, it shares, it raises up, it boosts, comes together. It's the darkness that divides, that says nasty things. Bear that in mind. Okay, until the next time I see you guys, make sure you keep vibrating high. Lots of love, everybody. Bye bye.